Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter and welcome to my weekly episode. It is episode number 361 for June 23rd, 2026. And I hope your week so far has been going pretty good and I hope you're enjoying nice weather. We're having not too bad of weather here either, which is nice. It's been on the cool side for summer. Yeah, like right now it's 12 degrees C. So that's brisk. That's brisk. But anyways, let's take a look at what I've been working on. Now, you've seen this in bits and pieces before, yes, and this morning I will try to remember to hit the right buttons. A few of you jumped down my throat yesterday because on my Monday morning coffee, I was telling you all about 3D prints that I had made, and I forgot to switch my screens around so you could see them. But I discovered it after I explained those things and went back and showed them to you. But some of you are a little impatient. Yeah, you jump right on. It's like you're looking for me to make a mistake. You know, that's just rude. You know who you are, Elizabeth. Okay, so enough about that right now. Let's take a look at what I've been working on. There it is on the screen for you. This is my Japanese quilt so far. Actually, I have a few more of the blocks done, but at the time I took this picture, those weren't available. So it's coming along nicely. I've pretty much finalized the design in my head. Well, kind of have to now at this point because I've got a lot of the blocks made. So you can see in the center of each star block I have an element. Some of them are in the hoop embroidered fans using the Japanese the Japanese fabric. And what I've done in that case, if you look really closely, and it's hard to tell, but the fabric that I use for the fan is the same fabric I've used in the points of the star. So keeping things a little bit consistent. And so far, I have two star blocks that are made with the same fabric, but they may have something different in the center. The other things I'm doing is in the hoop embroidery in the center, and I'm doing some sashiko, which is also done on my embroidery machine. So it's faux sashiko, because I don't have a sashiko machine. So it's coming along nicely. Now the embroidered pieces, I said yesterday, if you saw my vlog yesterday, I talked about a little bit of a problem, and that problem has been resolved now, but there is one embroidered piece. Let me back up. I went to Etsy to get these embroidered designs, and I don't like using Etsy. I really don't. With Etsy, in my opinion, you never know much about the seller. I suppose that you could apply that to almost any site, but on Etsy especially, sometimes I just don't trust the sellers on Etsy. I'm sorry. And I have had bad experiences in the past, so I stay away from them. I use them as a last resort. Well, all of my usual embroidery sites did not have anything really appropriate for a Japanese quilt. So I did find these ones on Etsy, and I thought I'd take a chance. Now, I think I mentioned last week that I ordered one. It was a Japanese lantern, and very, very nice embroidery design, but very dense in the number of threads. In fact, I think there was stitches. There was something like over 61,000 stitches. And when you have that kind of number in a design, there's going to be a lot of pull on your fabric, and you can get some major wrinkling and other problems. And usually to combat that, I use a generous amount of stabilizer. And I did with that design. And each time I'd get to a certain part of it, and it would stitch it out, but it would bunch up the fabric a little bit because it was so tight and so dense and so many layers of thread that would create a major bump in the design. And I did not like that. And of course, the design came out very, very stiff as well. And this is going to be a quilt, right? So you don't want things that are too stiff. Now this may end up just being a decorative quilt, not really a bed quilt because of all the applique and embroidery on it. However, I just knew something wasn't right with that design, which was a shame because I really, really liked it. So I was in contact with the creator, and I'll say this, she impresses me. I think she's on the other side of the world. Her written English is very, very good, so I don't know, exactly where she is. I just know there seems to be almost a 12-hour difference between us. So usually I get a reply to my emails from her. Yes, I've had more than one email with her, and I'll come to that. And I usually get them at about 10 o'clock at night, our time. So anyways, long story short, and it is long, I told her what the problem was. I sent her a picture of it, and I tried various combinations of stabilizers and everything like that, and I'm not an amateur when it comes to machine embroidery, so I pulled out every tool and trick in the book to solve this problem. And my conclusion was, yeah, it's way too densely stitched, and I know exactly where the problem is going to start. Now, I could skip over that, and I did that part, but that part was a very decorative and unique part to this design, and I didn't really want to have to skip over it, but in the long run nobody would have known the difference anyways. But anyways, she got right back to me, apologized for that, said she would rework the design, and then she would send it to me again, and she did within 24 hours. And she reworked it and sent me a link to her Google Drive to pick it up. I went there, and she accidentally put in the wrong file, or made access to the wrong file for me. It was a Western one with a cowboy hat and boots, a little bit far from the Japanese lantern. So I wrote to her again and said, oops, little mistake there. She apologized for it profusely and said she'd make it right, and she did make it right. And I downloaded it yesterday, and I stitched out. It stitched out beautifully. I'm not sure what she did, but she reduced the number of stitches by about half. Instead of 61,000, it was about 31,000. And still the detail was there and everything. I'm not a digitizer. I've dabbled in it, so I'm not sure exactly what she did, although I did notice that she reordered the way the stitches, what order the stitches were going to be stitched out in. I think that made a difference too. So anyways, I was very pleased with that. And the other designs that I bought from her have all stitched out wonderfully, just that one. So that problem is solved, which is great. And I'm very happy with it. So this is coming along. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to put sashing between each block. I'll have to see what it will look like. Of course, there will be a border. This isn't done. There's going to be more rows on here. I am thinking of making some of the stars a little more solid by using either the same fabric as I have in the points in the center unit, or one of the other fabrics, mix it up. Probably one of the other fabrics. I don't know. I'll have to see how that will look. So that'll give a little bit more of variety. Now, the other decision I will have to make, but I don't have to make that right now because the quilt's not done, is when I go to quilt it. I usually do an edge-to-edge design with the computer on Lucy. But if I do that, there's going to be quilting over top of all the embroidered and appliqued pieces. Now, I have done that before, and it does work, but because of the intricacy of these particular embroidered designs, I'm not sure how that's going to really work out. So I may have to actually do some custom. And when I say custom, I don't mean getting Walter to do it for me. I don't think he's at that level quite yet. In fact, as a side note, no, Walter hasn't touched Lucy since we got back from Japan. And I hate to nag him about it because he's been busy with other things, but, because he has to want to do it. And he was very enthused about the whole thing, and I'm hoping his enthusiasm hasn't dwindled, because he was doing very well, very, very well with it. And, you want to get back on there before you lose your muscle memory with it all. But anyways, I would not have him quilt this one. I will do it myself. But I think I'm going to have to set up the computer on Lucy and do custom. And we'll see how that looks. What we're going to do with that, because I'm really not sure yet. But we'll think about that another day, as Scarlett said in Gone with the Wind. Okay, so it's coming along. Actually, I'm very happy with it so far. I think it looks really nice. I think it's going to look wonderful when it's done. Sorry, no kimonos. Don't get me started on that. And I just about forgot to show you the other project that I've worked on. And these are the portfolios that I'm making for our great nieces as little gifties for their concert that we're going to at their place this coming weekend. And these are those felt portfolios that I bought at Dollarama. Now, you know, back last Christmas, I made those felt bags, those big bags. They took me forever. Well, they have these. I'm still hunting for more of these. These are rare to find. So I put the music on them, and I put a guitar, because that's what they play, on it. And the original ones have a band, elasticized little fabric band that goes around, keeps the closure. Once I take the stitches out of these so I can open them up, put them on the embroidery machine, that little band comes off, and I tried to sew it back on, but it makes everything pucker. So instead, I installed snaps, brass snaps on it. And this is just something I'm thinking, you know, sheet music would fit in here or whatever they want. So yeah, I think they're cute. And I have more of these folders, and if I can get my hands on more, I'm thinking that these are going to make some nice Christmas gifts this year as well. And there are other projects I need to work on, like, okay, this is the last week in June. As we move into July, we're on to block 4 of John of Art East Quilts, second star to the right, the Peter Pan quilt. And yes, you've heard me say this before, I do not enjoy the cutting. I really don't. And but I'm not giving up on this. It's coming together along. I just have to get my mind psyched up for the cutting. That's it. And those of you that have done one of these before, you know that's what you have to focus on the end product, that this is going to be wonderful. And it's a challenge, and you'll be very proud of yourself when you get it done. That's what I keep telling myself about it. So that's my motivation. I have another quilt in the wings, or at least I've got the material for another quilt in the wings, which is one by Adam Sews. Adam has just released a new pattern, and I want to make that one. But the one I'm talking about is one that I bought from his online store, and it uses a jelly roll. And it looks like it might be a fairly fast quilt to put together. So I've got my jelly roll and everything for it. So that's another project. And projects are starting to pile up because I want to do another Quilt of Valor. And yeah, I have one Quilt of Valor ready for delivery. Usually once a year in about November, around Remembrance Day, they have a special sew day, the Quilts of Valor branch that's out in the Trenton area, which is about an hour and a half east of me. And we've been going the last couple of years to that day. And that's where they'll also do some of the presentations for Quilts of Valor as well. So that's when I take my quilts with me. I have one, as I said, ready to go. And you've already seen it because it's actually my own pattern, and that pattern is now available. It's the one that works with a panel. That pattern is available free. It's in the show notes below. And yeah, but it would be nice to make another one as well. And I'm seriously thinking of making another one using one of my earlier patterns that I've created too. So yeah, so I have projects up here, and my head can only hold so much information before I get a headache. So yeah, lots to do. Just keep on working. And plus I've got a ton of embroidery projects I want to work on too. I need 3 of me. you know, each one of me would have its own separate sewing room and its own equipment, and they'd all go in and they'd work on different projects. Little sweat team. Too bad I couldn't clone myself. And you're saying, good thing you can't. So anyways, I'm rattling on here, as I do. All right. So what else can I say? Yeah, that's what I've been working on. So what's up? Well, this coming Wednesday, as every Wednesday, sewing with me, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, finish at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. All are welcome. Come and go as you please. I know that if your weather is nice where you are, you probably don't want to be stuck in your sewing room all day. You know, I think for a lot of people, they get into the heavy sewing and the quilting in the dead of winter because there's nothing else to do. But in summertime, you're probably out and about. However, I am here. So if you decide that you've got nothing on that day, maybe it's raining, whatever, and you want to join us, then please do. Links in the show notes. Okay, so some other things. Well, I got an interesting surprise this morning. I have put in an order to Monfil. Monfil is in Montreal, and it is the company I deal with and have dealt with for many years now for all of my stabilizers that I buy for my embroidery. I love Monfil. They're a great company, very fast delivery, and if you have over $100 as an order, and it's not hard to do, I usually save up what I want to order so that I will have that. It's free shipping, and it comes usually very fast, within 2-3 days or so. So last week, when was June the 20? No, it wasn't June the 22nd. Whatever. I think it was last Friday. Whatever. I put in an order for some stabilizers. Actually, a big, huge roll of no-show mesh and a couple of smaller rolls. I would have bought huge rolls of those too if they'd been available, of tearaway. So the order came to about, with tax, $186. Okay, and this is there was a box sitting on the kitchen counter this morning when I got up, because Walter goes out for a walk at night and he checks our mailbox then. So yeah, and I was expecting to get this order probably sometime today. And yeah, I got an order, and on the bill of sale, the shipping invoice, it says that I'm supposed to have a big roll, which is 15 inches by 100 yards of invisible mesh stabilizers. That's the no-show mesh. And I should have two 25-yard rolls of tearaway stabilizer. Okay, great. $186 worth. This is what arrived. This is what was sitting on the kitchen counter. Do you think you can get 100 yards and two 15-yard rolls of stabilizer in this box? I don't think we've perfected miniaturization yet, or shrink ray. So this was curious. Now, when I first saw this box, I thought it was, I ordered some ink cartridges for my printers. And it's another order that I'm wondering about at the moment. And I thought that's probably what these were, until I looked at the address from the sender, and it was Monfil. And I went, what the goes on here? So I opened up the box, and inside the box, I found 4 bobbin holders for a long arm. These are the bobbin holders that I use on my long arm. I did not order these. Bobbin holders, stabilizer. I mean, how could you mix up those two things? So I immediately wrote this morning before I went on here to record this to Monfil, and their customer service is always very, very good, and said, I'm a little disturbed about this because, and I'm getting low on those two stabilizers, and with this quilt, I have been using them quite a bit. So I did mention to them that I'm working on a project that, kind of said it was time sensitive. It's really not time sensitive, but sometimes that puts a little fire under, these companies when you have to deal with them. And as I said, Monfil has never made this mistake before. So I'm wondering, and I put that in my email, I'm wondering if they got new people on the shipping floor. I think what has happened is somebody was doing up the shipments, got the label, and slapped it on the wrong box. So somebody out there just received $186 worth of stabilizer, but did not get their bobbin cases. So we'll see. I asked them to get back to me as quick as possible. I'm assuming they will, because they usually do. Johnny is the person that I usually deal with here, and he is very, very quick and thorough. And so what I assume they're going to do is they'll apologize for the mistake. They will say they've got my order already, shipping it out. So, I mean, if they shipped it out today, if they were quick, I'd probably have it by the end of the week. In the meantime, I wonder what they want me to do with these. They will probably say, don't worry about them, just keep them. Well, bonus. Okay, because I think these will work in Lucy. So, yeah. And these are not inexpensive either. So we'll wait and see. I know for one thing, if they want me to send them back, better tell me how I'm sending them back, and they will be paying for the shipping for these. Yeah. But anyways, mistakes happen. It is upsetting. Okay. I'm an impatient person when it comes to efficiency. Okay. And mistakes like this should not happen. But I guess they do. I should be more forgiving. It's human error. Okay, it could happen. It's just annoying, So, yeah. So I'll let you know what happens with that. But I pretty much know what'll happen. If the past dealing with Monfil is any indication. They're a good company, and they're good customer service. So this was just a little oops, and I just have to get myself in control. It happens. Okay, so on the other side of things, I got a really nice email from Donna, who is one of my subscribers, and this is what she wrote, and I thought I'd share it with you. Good morning, Stephen. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your binding tutorial. It works perfect after 20 years of quilting and hating the binding part, and you are the first one to make it easy peasy lemon squeezy, so thank you. I am behind on your videos, which I enjoy on the run, and thank you for doing them as they are enjoyable. Well, thank you, Donna. That made my day when I got that. Because as a content creator, we don't get a lot of positive messages. Oftentimes in the comment section, what we find is people are more ready to complain and to bite off our heads than send us a compliment. And I am very glad that she sent me this email, not just because it boosts my ego, but also it's nice to know that I've done something that someone found useful, because really that's what I want. That's why I do this. I want to be informative, entertaining, but more than anything, I want it to be useful for whoever is watching it. So thank you, Donna. That was very nice of you. I'm having it framed in gold and hung on the wall. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So what did we have last week in our videos? Well, on Monday Morning Coffee with Stephen, I talked about filament. I kind of teased a little bit, a little clickbait there. I called it Filament Explosion. So I'm sure what was going through some people's mind is, oh my God, his 3D printers blew up. No, they did not. But my credit card blew up because Bamboo had a big sale and I bought 26 boxes or 26 spools of filament. So I'm well stocked up. And on So Chatty last week, we talked about the creative gene, and that was a topic that came from a subscriber. And I found out some very interesting things, and I hope you found that interesting as well. I sometimes am afraid that on So Chatty, Walter and I end up being talking heads, meaning like we get a topic, we do the research, and maybe it's boring. I hope it's not. I hope it's informative. But I do try to keep that in the back of my mind that maybe it could be a little bit dry. And yeah, but I do like to do topics for So Chatty that have come from you, the subscribers. So keep sending them in, put them in your comment section, send me an email, whatever you would like us to discuss, and we'll look at it and explore it further. And on Stephen and Walter Live, we looked at sort of an extension to what we had talked about the day or the week before, which was about that really horrific group in the United States, this movement called Turning Point, which really wants to put women's rights back 100 years. Well, I wanted to look at how the kids today are being brought up. And, you know, it's kind of scary, but a lot of the kids today, the girls are not being encouraged to become, you know, strong individuals out there. And the boys are not being encouraged to treat females as equals and worse. And that's kind of scary. Very Handmaid's Tale-ish, as I've said before. So anyways, that was last week. This week, no Stephen and Walter Live. We are off to a concert, summer concert, at the home of our nephew. Our two great nieces, who are brilliant musicians, every summer put on a concert. They usually do it on a Saturday. This year, for some reason, it's on the Sunday, so there will not be a Stephen and Walter Live this coming Sunday because we'll be at the concert. Yeah. But on the tail of that, next Monday, and I believe I mentioned this in my episode yesterday, it will be Monday Morning Coffee with Stephen live. Yes, it'll be live at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I do a live version of Monday Morning Coffee with tongue is tied on the last Monday of every month. So the last Monday of every month will be this Monday coming. So that's when I'll be doing live. So I hope you can join in. I know it's maybe a bit early for some people, especially the West Coasters. Yeah, that, 5 in the morning for you. But anyways, I love doing the lives because I like to feed off of what you have to say in the chat. And so you never know what we'll end up talking about. So it's just like we're sitting across the kitchen table, enjoying coffee with each other. So I hope you can join us. That's next Monday at 8 a.m. There will be a notice about that in YouTube. Probably it'll go up about Friday. So you'll know what to click on to get to it. Okay, so that takes me to subscribers quilt of the week. And this comes from Charlotte de Rocher. And I hope I'm so... Charlotte's been a long time subscriber here. I see her all the time, on the So Days and things like that. And I hope I'm saying her last name right. I want to give it a French pronunciation, and that's de Rocher, but it may be just de Roche. I'm not sure which, but either way, Charlotte is a brilliant quilter, and here's a wonderful creation for you to enjoy. This week's beautiful creation comes from Charlotte de Rocher, and Charlotte writes, and I'm sorry, Charlotte, if I've said your last name with a French turn to it. It may be Charlotte de Rocher, or it may be just de Roche. Either way, what she has sent for us to take a look at is beautiful, and I especially love it because it is my pattern that she used around the panel. And this is what Charlotte wrote. Dear Stephen, how I spent my time while you and Walter were in Japan, watching and enjoying all your wonderful videos and sewing my crow panel using your wonderful pattern. I finished the top the day you two got home. I had to cut my panel a little wider than your pattern says because of the way the panel was done. I added strips of orange fabric to the two top and bottom rows to make them fit properly. I really enjoyed using your pattern. It is well written and easy to follow. Thank you. P.S. She says, your pattern is so much better than slapping borders on a panel. Bless you for such an amazing answer. Okay, so Charlotte, thank you so much, first of all, for your wonderful complimentary comments about my pattern. I am so glad it worked for you, and the results speak for themselves. This is absolutely stunning. I love the panel. And as Charlotte said, she had to add a couple of strips just to make it fit properly, and that is perfectly all right. And it's gorgeous. What can I say? I love this, and seeing my own pattern done by somebody else to suit their personal taste, I think is wonderful. I really do. So thank you, Charlotte, for sharing this with us. It's absolutely gorgeous. And that takes me to the YouTube short tip of the week. And this is a version of the disappearing 9-patch block. This week's YouTube short tip has to do with a block that is very, very popular, but a lot of people might not know how to make it. And that is the missing disappearing 9-patch technique, which creates a wonderful variation on a simple 9-patch block. If you've never done one of these before, it's very easy and can be very effective. In fact, Walter himself did one of these as one of his very first quilts that he ever made, and it turned out wonderful. So this little tip shows you exactly what you need to do, and be sure to expand, as I have here, the little description box, because it gives you even more important information about working with this technique. So check it out. So that takes me to the little mini series I have been doing for the last few weeks here on the Idiot Quilter. And this is with my pattern called Healing Waters. It's the one that I designed. I designed the pattern to work with any panel. And so I've been taking you through the process of using a panel with this pattern. And this week we're looking at making the inside and the outside borders. Now this little video clip takes about 5.5 minutes, so it's a short one. So this might be a great time to refresh your coffee.
Okay, so we have our top and bottom and side border pieces attached. These are 3.5 inches long, or wide, sorry. And we already talked about how to join them together. If you want, and you've got lots of fabric, you can make, instead of 6 pieces, that'll be 58 inches, or sorry, 66 pieces by width of fabric. Instead of that, you could do 8. You're going to have leftover fabric, however, but it will save you probably from having to do piece from leftover pieces off the other border. I don't know if that made sense, but it did to me. Okay, I'm going to tell you how I do my borders. Everybody has their own way of doing it. I know the purists out there like to find the center of the quilt and the center of the border, mark it, then they take a measurement from the top and one in the middle and one at the bottom, take the average, that figures out the exact length they want for their border. I don't do that. I just simply take my strip and make sure it's longer than the side of the quilt that I want to attach it to. I clip it really well. You could use pins, whatever your preference is. I line it up on the edge, right sides together, and I clip it, every 4 inches or less. I put in a lot of clips. I find that keeps it straight and keeps it from warping. And then I sew it, and then I just lob off flush with the top and the bottom, if it's in the case of a side border, that piece off that. And I do the same thing with the top and the bottom borders as well. It works for me. The one thing you don't want to do is stretch your fabric when you're putting your borders on. That's why I use so many clips. Probably an overabundance of clips, but if you stretch the border as you're putting it on, you're going to get a wonky border. And I think that's why some people do the other method I just mentioned, where they take the average and do all of that. I don't have time for that. Whatever works for you, that's the method that is best. So I've got those on now, and what I have to do next is piece my side strips and my top and bottom and put those on. So we'll come back and talk more about that in a second. Okay, so now we've got, for lack of better terminology, the inner border on here all the way around. And what we're going to do now is work on the outside border. And you can see, maybe you can't see, let me see if I can get this up here for you a little bit more. A little higher. There we go. You can see here I've started putting them. They're not sewn on yet, but I have made them. And really, the way you make these is exactly the same way as you made the side and top pieces earlier. The only difference is you have more of these pieces, of course. So you see here on page 12 of the pattern, I have laid out exactly what the left and the right borders or strips should look like. So use this as you sew them together. And do the same thing with the top and bottom pieces as well. And make sure that you get them all oriented in the correct direction for this. So once you have those sewn together, then you can add them to the quilt and sew them to the sides first and then to the top and the bottom. And then all we have left after that is to do the outside border, and we'll come to that in a minute. So I'm going to go off and attach my sides and my top and my bottom strips, and I'll be back to show you what that looks like.
So I've put the outside top and bottom borders on, and now the quilt top is now finished, and I think it came out great. Now what I need to do is figure out what I'm going to use for a backing fabric. I think I have something that'll work in my stash. I went looking for a 108-inch fabric in the Healing Waters fabric line for the backing. Could not find it. And I don't want to piece the backing on this. So I think I have something that's going to work. So I will use that, and I'll get it layered. I'll get it onto Lucy, and then I've got to pick my quilting design. And I don't want something that's too dense. I just want something that is something symbolic, something that will add a little texture to the quilt, something that won't conflict with the busyness of the fabrics that I used in this quilt. And also I'll have to think about the color. And right now I'm thinking a very light gray. I could go with a very light blue though. So I guess I'll audition several different shades in the blue and the gray line for this, and see which one I'll pick from that. And I'll be sure to show you the whole quilting procedure for this as well. And so that brings me to the end of this episode of the Idiot Quilter. If you have suggestions for things you'd like me to look at or explore within the confines of the Idiot Quilter, please let me know. Put them in the comments below. I read all the comments. I respond in one way or another to all the comments as well. Sometimes it's just a heart because there's nothing more to say, but I want you to know I appreciate the comment. And other times I'll answer if it's a specific question, or if it's something I feel I need to add a little bit more detail to what you've already said, I will do that as well. But I want you to know I read every one of those comments all the time. And sometimes I pick out some that I want to, talk about a little bit further here on the episode. This week I didn't have any like that, but yeah, keep the comments coming. I appreciate them very much. Especially like the ones where you're very nice and kind and complimentary. But I can handle the constructive criticism as well, too, as long as it's constructive. Anyways, I'm rambling. I hope you have a great day. I hope to see some of you maybe on Wednesday for the sew day. And yeah, tune in for the other videos later this week. We'll see you later. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hi. I'm just going to interrupt my program for just 1 second to remind you to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for future notifications. That's all I ask of you. Show me a little love. Thanks.